dump more ice in the oceans, then it causes sea level rise. So OMG is really here to try and figure out how much are the oceans doing, how much is this kind of breaking off of the ice, it's called calving, how important is that relative to the melting at the surface, and more importantly, is the ocean causing some of this speed up of the calving? We think it is, but how widespread is it and how big an impact? Even the smallest iceberg looks gigantic when you're right next to it. We saw an iceberg that was grounded in the bay. Remember, 90% of the iceberg is below sea level. So if there's about 10 meters or about 30 feet of ice above sea level, then 300 feet or below. It's a reminder that a lot of the stuff we're trying to measure is hidden below the surface of the ocean, hidden below the surface of the ice, and peering down into both of those is really at the core of what OMG is trying to do. Every time a ton of ice comes off of Greenland, sea level goes up a tiny little bit, and it's coming off Greenland at billions of tons per year. It's interesting to meet some of the Greenlandic folks who have been here their whole lives. They've all watched the glaciers literally vanish before their eyes. They didn't need satellites and airplanes and scientists to tell them that Greenland was melting. They look out and see the glacier used to be here and now it's way up there. Sea level rise is really a global problem. It's something we can't just ignore. 2/3 of the planet are covered by the oceans, and it's really the same ocean. I mean, if ice is lost here, sea level rises back home in Los Angeles, rises in Southeast Asia, in Australia, all across the planet. Being here and seeing the ice disappearing and literally watching it fall into the ocean is really profound, and I think it's something that I hope that we help people understand with OMG, that we all live on the same planet and it's changing and we need to know how.
NASA has captured a new infrared image of the center of our Milky Way galaxy, revealing details that have never been seen before. Scientists have tried for many years to peer through the dense swirls of dust obscuring many of the Milky Way's fascinating features. SOFIA, NASA's telescope on an airplane, observed our galaxy's center in infrared light, which is invisible to human eyes but pierces through the dense dust. Now we can see new details in the curves surrounding the Arches cluster, the densest concentration of stars in our galaxy. Also visible is the Quintuple cluster, with stars that are 1 million times brighter than our Sun. Our galaxy's supermassive black hole takes shape with a view of the fiery-looking ring of gas surrounding it. NASA created the panorama by combining SOFIA's new crisp image with previous data from the Herschel and Spitzer space telescopes. Scientists will use the image to study previously hidden facets of our Milky Way galaxy, including how many massive stars are forming here, and to set targets for telescopes of the future like the James Webb Space Telescope.
This is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Station is ready for the event.
Spokesman Review, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Kip Hill with the Spokesman Review. How do you hear me?
I have you loud and clear, Kip. How do you hear me?
I hear you just fine. It's a pleasure to talk to you. This is new for me, and it's really cool.
It's a pleasure to talk to you too, especially to be talking to my home state of Washington and especially to Eastern Washington.
Oh yeah, we're really snowy over here today. I don't know if you can tell that up there. I wanted to ask you, the last time we talked and the last time you talked to the governor was before the holiday. I'm just kind of curious what it's like celebrating the holidays up there on the station.
You know, we actually had a pretty fantastic time up here. We definitely missed being home with our families, but we're a bit of a family up here ourselves. We call it our space family. So we had some awesome meals together, exchanged some gifts, even had a cookie decorating contest. So there was a lot of holiday cheer to go around, and it was just a fantastic time for our crew to bond and have a special set of holidays together.
That's great. Now, when you do New Year's, obviously you're floating around. Do you get to pick which time zone you celebrate the New Year, or how do you do that?
You know, we celebrated New Year in almost every time zone. We celebrated when we crossed the international date line on New Year's. We celebrated with each of our ground control centers around the world, and we celebrated on Greenwich Mean Time, which is what we use up here for our schedules. So it was a pretty festive New Year. We rung it in several times.
That's great. That's great. Well, we were watching here in Washington when you first came through that hatch, and you were the first through the hatch in your expedition up there. I'm wondering if you could take me back to that moment. I know you've been up there a while. What was that like for you?
It was an absolutely fantastic moment and really a fulfillment of a dream. You know, we've been training so much to get up here, and we have some awesome training facilities at NASA, even a scale mock-up of the space station that looks almost exactly like the real space station. So it was pretty surreal to be floating through the hatch and kind of recognizing it from our training, but realizing how different it was too, actually being in microgravity. And it was real special to give Mark Vande Hei a big hug. We've really been looking forward to getting up here to join him for Expedition 66, seeing Anton and Piotr again. So it's just really, really special and almost unbelievable that we had actually made it.
Kind of describe a typical day for you. I know you're doing a lot of experiments. What is it like waking up, and what's your work day like?
You know, a typical day up here, we all normally get up around 6:30, have breakfast, and start reviewing the schedule and the plan for the day. At about 7:30, we have a planning conference with all of the control centers around the world and just make sure everybody's on the same page with what we're hoping to get done. And then we get to work. We usually work from that planning conference in the morning till about 7:30 at night, with breaks for lunch and also to work out to maintain our fitness and our bone density and stay healthy up here. But in between, we're doing everything we need to do to keep the space station running. Maintenance, both corrective because something broke and also preventative to keep our systems healthy. But like you mentioned, we're executing a ton of science experiments. We're doing over 350 experiments during our 6-month mission up here. And right now it's kind of like science season. We have a cargo dragon here that brought us a bunch of really exciting experiments. So we've been really busy setting those up, executing them, and getting data back to the ground.
I wanted to ask you, I don't know if you're aware, one of those experiments, I think, that came up in the December 21st launch, we heard, the Spokesman Review for viewers, you know, we cover both Washington and Idaho. I understand there's actually some science up there from the University of Idaho dealing with polymers and bacterial growth. Is that something you've seen? Are you aware of that? Is that part of your work?
I've seen a lot of experiments from a lot of different universities, but I actually installed a NanoRacks payload into one of the NanoRacks experiment laboratories, kind of these miniature laboratory modules that had a University of Idaho sticker on it. And my sister is actually a University of Idaho grad, Stephanie, so I had that, go Vandals thought in my head as I was putting it in. Pretty cool to see.
They'll be happy to hear that, I'm sure. You worked in submarines. I'm sure you've gotten this question before, but now having been up there since November, kind of compare the work on a submarine to the work that you're doing on the space station. Is it similar? Is it different? In what ways?
It's similar in so many ways, and I feel like I'm discovering new similarities every single day. The equipment we operate up here is really similar because we need all of the same things to keep us alive. Human beings aren't supposed to be living and working under the surface of the ocean or in the vacuum of space. So we need things to maintain a safe atmosphere, to deal with human waste, to have all the resources we need to work here and actually accomplish a mission. And the work's pretty similar too, that we're working with a lot of equipment, a lot of operational procedures, a lot of technical stuff going on, fixing things when they break to keep things running. There are some differences too though. Our crew is really small compared to my submarine crew of 165 people. So there's only a few of us up here, so we're really reliant on all of the expertise on the ground. We're really just kind of the eyes and ears and hands up here, but we're not really experts in anything that we're doing because there's just too many things going on with all of these experiments, all of this equipment. The true experts are in mission control in Houston or in Huntsville for our scientific experiments or around the world with our international partners. So it's a little bit different that the big crew is back on Earth and we're just here kind of representing them.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to